Great news! With Trinidad Fresh, you get 70% real fruit juice, and it's available in fruit punch, orange, and apple.
Trinidad Fresh.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome to C Results. I'm Miss Nyla, and as you know, it's Tuesday, so that means you get a double dose of me, okay? So we have, up now, we have ELA, and a little after 6, we will have creative writing. Before we get started, I want to say welcome to all of our viewers, whether you are joining us on IBN TV 8, Chatters Channel 8, or on our C Results page on Facebook, that live stream, or the IBN TV 8 page as well, okay? Guys, I hope that you all had a good day at school, and I know you all doing a lot of extra work, probably doing all those practice papers, extra lessons, you know, trying to get whatever you can done in this limited space of time that we have, right? But we are working with it, don't fear. And as you know, we have completed section 1. We have finally completed section 1 of the ELA paper, and today we are moving on to section 2 of that ELA paper. So let's just talk a little bit about section 2. As you know, in section 2, it includes the comprehension, whether it's fiction or non-fiction, your poem, all right, that's the poetry section, and then you have your graphic. So we are working backwards in our section 2 of the paper. So we are starting with the graphic, then we'll move to poetry, and then comprehension, right? Graphic is not going to take as long as poetry or comprehension, so we might as well get that out of the way. So that's what we are going to start with today. But right before we get into our first graphic, I just want to take a second to mention that yesterday we were looking at synonyms and antonyms and all of those things, right? And they had a minor error up on the screen, and we did not point it out, right? So I'm going to point it out here. This was actually for antonyms, not antonyms, sorry, synonyms, right? And this number 5 here, mosquitoes breed and flow in water. And the answer here, the synonym is supposed to be stagnant. However, flowing and stagnant are antonyms, right? They're opposite in meaning. So we should have changed this word probably to still or something like that, just so that it would make sense in this sentence. So like we said, synonyms are words that are similar in meaning and not opposite, just as we have flowing and stagnant there. So I just thought I'd point out that I don't want students, you know, for example, you go and you're writing essay and you remember that stagnant and flowing are synonyms, right? That is incorrect, right? I don't want you thinking that and saying, well, you know, Miss Nyla taught that, right? So let's move on. So we are going straight to the section 2 now, and we are moving on to graphic, like I said. Graphic actually is not task 6 as you are seeing here, but it's actually 4. Section 2, we only have task 4 in section 2. So task 4, that is your comprehension, poetry, and your graphic, right? We call all of that task 4. That's not really important. The important thing here is the graphic, which is the topic that we are going to be looking at, right? That's this task. And first of all, you need to know what is your graphic, right? And by now you are familiar probably with quite a number of different graphics, you know, that you have answered questions with and so on, right? So let's just read what a graphic is, right? It's relating to the written or printed word or the symbols or devices used in writing or printing to represent sound or convey meaning, right? So this is what a graphic is all about. Sometimes you might see text, sometimes you might see numbers, you might see illustrations. That's fine. They all help us to understand the graphic better, right? So it makes it easy for us to understand, in other words, right? So let's look at our first graphic here. Now this is only part of it. It was a little too big to put on the screen at once, so I just broke it up into 2 parts. So what we are going to do, we are going to read the entire graphic, and then we are going to look at the questions. Now, in a graphic, it's important that you pay attention to all details given, right? So, for example, sometimes when we're doing comprehension, we may not pay close attention to the title, right, or what is written to the top of your comprehension, which is incorrect, right? That's not the correct strategy. But for graphic, it's important that you read every detail, right? Because the information is so concise, and sometimes it's so limited that you need to pay attention to everything they have written, because the answers may be hidden, you know, somewhere in those small text, right? So it might be written in small font. So you would see in a graphic sometimes, you would see capital letters, you would see bold letters, you would see numbers, like I said, you would see pictures or illustrations, and little footnotes maybe to the somewhere to the end, probably in the corner right here. You may see something written very small, right? But you still have to read it and pay attention to it, right? That is details given that you will need when you are answering your graphic. So let's look at this one here, right? We're going to read everything. 5th Annual Disaster Awareness Day, right? First thing, when you read 5th Annual Disaster Awareness Day, what comes to mind, right? Pay attention to vocabulary as well, right? They tend to test you in vocabulary in this graphic also. Saturday, 11th August, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at Greenfield Mall. So first set of information given here. So we know Annual Disaster Awareness Day. This is the 5th one, so this is the 5th year in a row it's taken place. Annual suggests that it takes place once every year, right? So this is the 5th Annual Disaster Awareness Day. So this is the 5th time they are having this, this awareness day, or having this advertisement, or however you want to call it, right, for people to join in. When is it? Actually, this year, they did not give a year, but that's fine. If they're telling you 5th annual, they're talking about this year, right? So 11th of August, so Saturday, 11th of August. What time? From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. At, and where is it taking place? At Greenfield Mall. That's your location. So far, you have date, you have a time, and you have a venue. Now let's go down there to the information provided in this flyer. On the side here, you will notice it says free. But free what, right? So let's read and see. Entrance, child identification card, enter to win a free weather radio, hot dogs, and cereal or fruit. So these are the items that you will be receiving free upon entry. And how do we know that? They said free, and it includes everything in this box here. So they have free entrance, a free ID card, free weather radio, right? And as we go along, we're going to see why it's a weather radio, if that's a question in your mind. And you can also get free food, hot dogs, or a fruit if you prefer, right? So far we understand the first piece of information, or the second piece of information, right under your date and time and venue. So let's go to the next part of the flyer. Like I said, this is one flyer. I just separated it so it will be clear for you to read, right? So demonstrations. The word demonstrations here, what does it suggest, right? And if you're not sure, when you read this side of the table, you're going to understand it a little better, right? So you have earthquake safety, and here the picture show drop, cover, hold on. It's a demonstration, right? And I'm not going to explain that to you quite yet what it means. Hurricane and flood models. It has another picture here associated with that title, TNTech safety demonstration. And here you have a light bulb, right? That light bulb there is a symbol associated with TNTech, right? So now let's discuss what demonstrations mean in this case. So when you see the word demonstration, you usually know that it's some sort of, well, I'm going to say demonstration, or what is the word I'm looking for, right? It'll come to me just now, right? But it's some sort of action, right, that helps you to understand what they are trying to say. So for example, earthquake safety, right? You know this is a disaster awareness day. So in your mind, you can think of disasters, right? And they are helping you, right? They're pinpointing some of these disasters that they want to focus on. So the first one there is earthquake safety and what to do in case of an earthquake. So they're going to show you here, drop, cover, and hold on. We know this, right? But this demonstration this picture here helps us to understand a little bit better the proper position, you know, of your body or what you're supposed to be doing in case of an earthquake, right? And the picture here helps you to understand. Second one, hurricane and flood models. So they're showing you here a picture, right, of weather, right? So what to look out for if the sky is a certain way, if you feel it's pretty cold or hot or anything like that, right? That's what the weather picture here is all about, telling you what to focus on. And TNTech safety demonstration. So TNTech, what does TNTech deal with, right? Electricity. So that's why we have a light bulb here, right? That's a symbol. And it is telling us, right, what we need to do or things we need to be aware of in case of a disaster, right? And your last section of your table says to learn. Now, what are you going to learn, right? So you're going to learn to build an emergency kit, to prepare your pets for a disaster, safety with water and electricity. So these are the things that they want you to learn at the end of this awareness day. These are the things that you must learn or you should have learned, right? So to build an emergency kit. Here, this picture here shows you everything that you should have in your kit or some of the general things that you may need in case of a disaster, right? So they're showing you a Red Cross kit, so maybe some bandages, plasters, anything like that that you may need. You have a knife, a flashlight, and all those essentials, right? It's just like what you can think about in case of any disaster. So if you're having flood and they tell you to prepare a kit, right? An emergency kit just in case of anything, right? This is what, or some of the things that you might put in that kit, right? So in this section of the table, they are teaching you how to assemble that kit or some of the things that you may need to put in there in case of an emergency. Also, you're going to learn to prepare your pets for a disaster. So many of us may have dogs or cats or birds or whatever pet you may have. Now, in case of flooding, for example, like we experienced in Trinidad, how do you prepare your pets for this, this disaster, right? What do you do with your pets? Do you leave them outside? It's in the pouring rain and rising water? No, we don't. So they're telling you what to do just in case that happens. And lastly, you're also going to learn safety with water and electricity. Here you have a lightning bolt and you have a tap, right? Do we usually put electronics, right, in water? So, for example, in a bathtub, will you carry a hairdryer or a radio inside the bathtub with you? No. So similarly, if any of those items, you know, whether they are plugged on, probably turned on, and they're exposed to water, that's another disaster by itself, right? You know that, and that's going to be a terrible outcome. So they're teaching you how to take precaution with regards to water and electricity if they come in contact, right? So that's about the flyer here. So let's just recap before we go to the questions aspect of it. So in this graphic, they're giving you information about a disaster awareness day. So they want to raise awareness about disasters that may occur in our country, right? They're giving you a time, a date, and a venue. All very important details because we need to know where to go, when to go, right? And probably how to go if necessary. These are the things that they will be covering during this disaster awareness day. Aside from the information given here with regards to demonstrations, which is very important, and the learning aspect of all the things that we are going to learn. In addition to that, if you come, and once you come, right, they're going to have free entrance and all of these free items. Now, why do you think they're giving or allowing free entrance into this awareness day, right? Probably to appeal to all the persons out there, make it easier for them, right? If you don't have to pay a fee, you can come and get all this knowledge and information for free, right? And also on top of that, you are getting food or fruit. And here, this one is what we are coming back to, enter to win a free weather radio. So this weather radio here, now you understand why you may be getting a weather radio or given a chance to win a free weather radio, right? That's going to help us, of course, in case of a disaster, right? And electricity is out, and we don't have any connection to the outside world, right? So let's go to the questions now. And right before we open the phone lines, I want to say what you can do when you are answering a graphic. You can do it just like I did. We started off looking at the graphic itself, analyzing it and paying attention to all the information given. So what you can also do, you can read all the questions if you wish, right? Go through each and every question before you look at the graphic. In that way, you know, you have an idea of what you are looking for. Yes, you must read all the details given, but when you read the questions and then look at the graphic, you already have an idea of what you are going to look for, and you will pay attention to some of the more important information that they are asking for, right? So you have two strategies there when you're answering a graphic. You can read the questions before, or you can look at the graphic before you answer the questions, right? Maybe we'll try that with the next one that we are doing. So we have questions here based on the 5th Annual Disaster Awareness Day. In your SEA paper or any practice test that you have been doing thus far, you would notice we just have about 5 questions in the graphic section. And it's only worth about 10 marks. So 2 marks per question. Sometimes these questions are scaffolded, right? So they are broken up into part A and part B, maybe even C sometimes, rarely, okay? But you will be awarded 2 marks per question. Generally, that's how it works. And you get an overall 10 marks for answering all questions correctly. Now, the graphic is really simple compared to your comprehension and your poetry. It's really straightforward. You barely have inferential questions. It's more literal, so you just mainly get your answers from the graphic. Or if you are required to get an inferential answer, an inferential question, it's more common sense, right? So the lines are going to be open. We are going to look at number 39, and we are going to answer the question. Now, you are seeing number 39 because that's how it is in your practice test. 39 to 43, right? And it ends at 43 there. This is the final part of the SEA paper. This is the last thing that you are going to be doing before you close that paper and check over and hand up your SEA ELA paper, right? So number 39 says, using details on the poster, fill in the information below. So we know that the information has to come from the poster. It cannot come from anywhere else. Please do not make up additional information about any other disasters that you may be aware of, right? Be mindful of that. And I have a call on the line. So caller, good evening and welcome. Hi, good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi, evening. This is Nicholas.
Hi, Nicholas.
For number 39 party, how often is the disaster awareness day held?
Yes.
The disaster awareness day is held yearly or annually?
Very good. And would you like to answer the second part as well? So part B.
Part B, it is held at the Green Vale Mall.
Right. So I'm just going to go back to you there, right? At Greenfield Mall. So that's correct, right? So thanks for calling, Nicholas.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, you're welcome. So I'm going to stop on this question for a second before I take this next call. So the question said, using details on the poster, fill in the information below. Part A suggests or says, how often is a disaster awareness day held? So this is how you will answer the question. You must answer in a complete sentence, right? So disaster awareness day is held every year or annually, just like what Nicholas said. And part B, where is it held? It is held at Greenfield Mall. Now, I know you may not be able to get the exact words because we don't have the graphics side by side with the questions, but that's fine, right? I'll try to go back as much as possible. And I have another call on the line to help us for number 40. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Lionel.
Hi, Lionel. So number 40 says, give 2 reasons why illustrations are used in the poster. First, before you answer the question, tell me what are illustrations?
Hi, Lionel. Illustration is to explain something.
Sorry?
Illustration is to explain something.
To explain something. Any other ideas you can think about the meaning for illustrations?
Nope.
Okay, so tell me what will be your answer then in this case.
Okay.
You can give me one reason.
One reason is to explain what the graphic is about.
Yes. All right. And since, well, would you like to try for the second reason?
Yes, and the second reason is explain where the ticket is.
Well,
Places.
right. So that's where you probably went a little wrong because the word illustrations here suggests pictures, right? So they want to know why pictures are used in the poster. Did you notice the pictures used throughout the poster?
Mm-hmm.
Right, so the next time you see illustrations, they are actually referring to pictures, right? So illustrations are the pictures used in the poster. So your first answer, first reasoning is correct, right? It helps us to understand. But can you think of another reason? Why would you use a picture in a poster?
So we can see what they are talking about.
Right, which is similar to your first one. But thanks so much for calling and giving us your answer anyway. Right, Lionel? Okay, I think we lost that. But thanks so much for calling, and I'm going to give this caller on the line here a chance to help us with the second reason. Good evening, and welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening. Welcome to See Results.
Hello,
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Rebecca and Nancy.
Hi, Rebecca. So, number 40, give 2 reasons why illustrations are used in the poster. So, do you know the meaning of the word illustrations?
Yes, please.
What is it?
It is pictures.
Pictures, right? So, Lionel said it helps us to understand the poster. Do you have a second reason to add to this?
It is to attract the reader's attention.
Very good. That is correct. Right? So, thanks for calling.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I'm going to stop on the calls there. So guys, this isn't like what we usually do for ELA, and I take calls one after the next. It's going to be a little slower because now we have the short answer type questions where we actually have to read the question and answer in complete sentences and then ensure that our answers are correct. Right? So both answers the answer that Lionel gave and our last caller gave is correct, right? Both of those are actually correct. Here, I'm just going to show you how you can answer it, right, using a complete sentence. So give 2 reasons why illustrations are used in the poster. You don't have to say 2 reasons why illustrations are used in the poster are, because they're only provided for you 2 lines, part 1 and part 2, right? So that means that you have 2 reasons there that they want. So you can just simply list those reasons and, of course, put it in a complete sentence. So it helps make the poster easier to understand, similar to what Lionel said. It engages persons or makes it appealing to readers, similar to what our second caller said. Now, if you don't have either of these 2, it's not that you are incorrect, right? Of course, I can't take any more calls for this question, but you should know if your answer is suitable for this, right? So you may have a similar answer, probably not written just as I have, but that's fine, right? Once your answer is similar to this or along those lines, you are fine, right? So that's another 2 marks there. So if you answer the first one correctly, you got 2 marks. You answer the second one correctly, you also got 2 marks. So 1 mark for the first reason and 1 mark for your second reason, right? So far you have 4 marks in the bag. So great job, right? Number 41, and the lines are open again. Give 1 purpose of the poster. And we have a second part to this question. Use 1 example from the poster to support your answer. Notice again we have 2 parts to this question. So I have to give the purpose of the poster, and then I have to give an example. And also, this is also for 2 marks. It might seem a little bit, you know, for the work that they're asking for, but that's fine, okay? Just answer the question. And besides, they're only asking you for 1 example, right? If they were asking you for more than 1 example, then it would have been 3 or more marks. So I'm going to give it a second there for someone to call me and help me answer this question. You can give me the first part or the second part, right? Or both of them if you like. So let's just think about the first part of this question. What could be a purpose of the poster? Why will you post such a poster, right? What does it do when you give this information, right? And I kind of just give part of the answer there. And the second part, give 1 example or use 1 example from the poster to support your answer. Now, they are telling you here to use 1 example from the poster, right? So don't make up your answer, right? That means they are looking for something in specific, right, relating to the poster there. So please don't make up any answers here, right? So I don't seem to have a call, so I'm going to go on with this question here, and let's see how we can answer this. Right, so actually I do have a call, so I'm going to go back. So good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, what's your name and welcome?
Hello, good evening.
Emmanuel Melville.
Nice to have you with us. So number 41 says, give one purpose of the poster. What do you think is the purpose of the poster?
I think the purpose for the poster is to attract people and to give awareness for the natural disasters.
Right, you are correct, right? And the second part here, do you think you can give us one example from the poster to support your answer?
The pictures that they have,
yeah,
and they're showing, and then they're giving you examples.
Right, but they ask you, okay, all right, that's fine. I will take that. Right, so I don't expect, like I said, that you guys answer in complete sentences because you're not able to see the poster alongside the questions to answer appropriately, right? But once you are close enough, I'm going to help you there. So I'm not going to take that second call as yet. Let's just look at the answers for this question. Part 1, give one purpose of the poster. One purpose of the poster is to learn about hurricanes and flood models. Now, that is correct. You can also say to learn about earthquakes, how to secure pets, any of those things, or to raise awareness, right? That is also a very good one, the main idea of the poster. So you can use any of those as long as it is on track with the poster and the aim of the poster, right? So use one example from the poster to support your answer. One example from the poster is that you can learn about safety with water and electricity. So this person here answered and tied their answer to part 1, where they gave the purpose to learn about hurricanes and models. And now the example here, right, is linked to the purpose that they listed, right, which was to learn about safety with water and electricity. Any of the other examples is also correct, right? If you want to talking about learning with your pets, sorry, not learning with your pets, securing your pets, and any of those things, that is fine, right? Demonstrations or the learning aspect of the table. So number 42, and I'm going to hold on for a call. So far we answered 3 questions, right? And we must have, or we should have, at least 6 marks by now, right? So this task graphic, it's, like I said, is one of the simpler ones in the ELA paper, so you have no excuse to leave out a question, right? So a question simple as this: name 2 demonstration activities from the poster. That's really simple and straightforward, right? And I have seen children leaving out questions in the graphic, and I'm sometimes very disappointed because it's easy for you to get at 2 marks. Now remember, with ELA paper, we want to get as much marks as we can possibly get. And the graphic is an ideal way to earn a simple 10 marks, right? So please don't leave out any of those. You're having difficulty with them, go back to the question, reread the question once, twice. What you can even do, and I suggest that you do, keep flipping back to the graphic, right? Read it over, read it in detail, read it carefully, probably underline keywords, right? So like I said, don't leave out any. I'm going to take this call. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Rebecca Randananthan.
Hi, Rebecca. So number 42 says, name 2 demonstration activities from the poster. How many demonstration activities did it have on the poster? Can you remember?
Can I see back the graphic, please?
Sure. Right. So we had... So how many do we have?
I still can't see it.
Can we zoom on this, please? Okay. Guys, I'd like to zoom on demonstrations, please. Okay, and I'm going to read it while they write. So we have earthquake safety, which is the first demonstration. Not in any particular order, we have hurricane and flood models, TNTech safety demonstration. So are you seeing it now?
Yes.
Okay, right. So how many demonstrations do we have?
We have 3 demonstrations.
Right. So the question says, list 2 demonstration activities from the poster. What will your answer be?
It will be there'll be hurricane and flood models.
Yeah.
Safety.
Right, so you are correct, right? So thanks for calling. So it can be in any order. You can say earthquake safety, hurricane and flood models, or you can give the last two, or the first one and the third one and the second one and the first one. It doesn't matter in which order you give it, as long as you give 2 demonstration activities from the poster. That's what's important, right? So how will you answer that in a complete sentence? You can say, if you have space, like I said, to write on top, you like to write 2 demonstration activities from the poster, that's fine. If they only give you 2 lines, just as I have part 1 and part 2 here, just list the demonstration activities. That's fine, right? So we have here earthquake safety, TNTech safety demonstration, right? So like I said, any 2 is fine as long as they come from the poster. Simple again, straightforward, and you earn yourself 2 marks. And the final question in this graphic, number 43, and I will await a call here. Using details to support your answer, who do you think will be interested in this event, right? So now this one is a thinking question, but it's a common sense thinking question. So you can just think about that answer based on what you have read, on the information you have read, right? And that information can come from the first part of the poster, or it can come from the second part, or you can put it all together and deduce one idea, right? And having read the poster, who do you think will be interested in such an event, right, or such activities, right? And this is open to any answer, really, right? But if you're given probably one of the further from the correct answer, please provide a reasoning, right? Although they don't ask you for a reason here, but try to if you're not sure. Right, so I have a caller here, and I'm going to see what this caller has to say about number 43. Good evening, and welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening. This is Nicholas.
So, Nicholas, welcome back. What do you think
thanks for number 43, right?
Yeah.
Using details to support your answer, who do you think will be interested in this event?
Yeah.
I think flood victims will be interested in this event because it shows about hurricane and flood models.
Excellent job, Nicholas. Before you go, Nicholas, yesterday, before you cut off the call, or the call was cut, you were about to say something. Do you remember what it was?
No, I wasn't going to say something. I was going to say it was me who called, because when I called, I didn't say it was me.
Okay, all right. All right, Nicholas.
Okay.
Okay. Right, so Nicholas is correct, right? And he is given that answer based on our experience in Trinidad and Tobago. So I will say that's an excellent answer. Like I said, whatever answer you give, try to give a reasoning just as he did, right? So we can also say here, and I'm not going to take that call I'm seeing on the line, I'm sorry, but I'm going to wait until we have the second graphic up, because as you know, this is the last question in our first graphic, right? So using details to support your answer, who do you think will be interested in this event? I think that members of the public, both adults and children, will be interested in this event because they are given free child identification cards upon entry. Also, it is teaching you how to prepare your pets in case of a disaster. Right, so let me explain this a bit. This person is saying that they think that members of the public, so whether it's adults, children, so flood victims, persons who probably experience an earthquake and probably, has a fear of earthquakes and probably wasn't prepared when we had that last huge earthquake, right, at 6 point something, or even, just as Nicholas said, the flood victims. All of those are actually correct. In this case here, they're saying children will be interested in this event also because they are giving away free things. Here they're getting a child identification card. I don't know exactly why they're given child identification cards, but we can assume, right, that it has your name on it, your address, your telephone number, or something to help you identify yourself in case of an emergency, right? So that is for children. Because we know that in case of an emergency, a child or a small child may not necessarily be able to take care of themselves. So that identification card is going to help that child if he's lost or is experiencing this disaster, probably in an unknown area or anything like that, right? And also it is teaching you how to prepare your pets in case of a disaster. Now this can go for both children and adults. You have your pets and you want to secure them, right? Just as we may have floods, how do you do it, right? So this last part here, I would say is for both children and adults. We all need that information there, whether to help our neighbor or to help ourselves if we do have a pet. So that, guys, brings us to the end of our first graphic. As you can see, it was easy for us. I'm not going to say easy as, you know, the blink of an eye, but you do have to put some effort and try answer all questions and incomplete sentences and so on, right? And easy, and just like that, you have earned yourself 10 marks, and that is the last, like I said, activity or task in the section 2 paper. We're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, we are going to look at our second graphic. Right, guys, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Sheikleisure Limited, the Caribbean's largest manufacturers of plain and printed paper bags, leaders in plastic bags, vermicelli, split piece powder, and greaseproof paper, ideal for doubles, french fries, and sandwiches. Supplying stores nationwide. For quality products, trust Sheikleisure Limited, 665-3336.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to See Results. If you're just joining us, welcome. And what we are doing, we're actually on section 2 of the ELA paper, and we are looking at the graphic, right? So we just completed our first graphic, which contains five questions, with a total of 10 marks. Now it's similar for all the graphics that we are doing, where it's just a simple 5 questions. However, the questions, like I said, may be broken up into parts, so A and B, and each question typically is given or awarded 2 marks per question, right? So this is our second graphic here. We're going to zoom on this a bit. Now this one might be, I hope it's not that difficult. Okay, great. It's not that difficult for you to see, right? So we're going to read this graphic. We're going to look at the illustrations, and I just want to point out illustrations refer to pictures. They mean pictures when I say illustrations, or if the question says illustrations, you know to yourself that they're asking you about the pictures on the poster or flyer or whatever you may have in front of you, right? This one is based on or is given information, and let's see what it is on, right? To prevent the deadly Zika virus, right? As you know, the Zika virus, from previous knowledge, is caused by mosquitoes, right? And we are not unfamiliar to it. Actually, we had it in Trinidad, right, some time ago. So this is good information, necessary, right, and we should learn from it. So most of these graphics tend to be educational information, right? I will not say all, of course, is what the writer chooses to write, but I would say a lot of them are educational and informative, right? So aside from just for SCA paper, you should take away a thing or two from the poster that you are reading. So let's go back to this. Right, prevent the deadly Zika virus. So this is the heading or the title of this flyer, right? Prevent the deadly Zika virus. First word there, prevent, right? What does prevent mean, and what comes to mind when you say that word prevent? And what are they asking you to prevent? They're asking you to prevent the deadly Zika virus. Notice they said deadly. right? The virus is only known as the Zika virus, but they added deadly here. Why did they add deadly, right? Because it can be fatal if you don't take proper precautions and if you do have the virus and so on. Also, pay attention, deadly Zika virus is written in capital letters, right? Now, why is it written in capital letters? Most times when something is written in capital letters or bold, right, or italic, any of those fancy fonts, they are trying to grab your attention, right, trying to appeal to the reader, right? They want to create emphasis, something is important, right? So all those are possible reasons why something may be written in capital, bold, italic, or any fancy font, right, relating to your poster. Let's move on. Eliminate breeding places of mosquitoes around the house by. So they're asking you to eliminate breeding places. So eliminate, what does that mean, right? And I'm not going to give that away because that actually is part of a question for this flyer. Breeding places of mosquitoes around the house. The first point here, notice, in your flyer, it is written in point form. Why is it written in point form? Now, if you notice what I'm saying, all of this is important when we are looking at graphics. Like I said, all details in a graphic is important. Just as here, we have capital letters, right? Or we may have bold letters. You have something written in point form. You have illustrations. You have a website, right? All of that is information needed for this poster. You cannot disregard any information for your graphic. Like I said, it is important to pay attention to all details. Everything here on this poster is key and is telling us something important, right? So let's go to the first point. Covering all water tanks, barrels, drains, and storage containers, right? So remember the heading says to eliminate breeding places of mosquitoes around the house, meaning your house, your neighbor's house, but of course you wouldn't go by your neighbor's house and do this, right? But you should be mindful of it. So covering all water tanks, barrels, drains, and storage containers. Next to that point has an illustration. Here we have seen a barrel, here we've seen a tub, and here a bucket. Right here, your tub seems to be open. You have a bucket here. You have a barrel, which is also covered. Second point, emptying and scrubbing flower pots, saucers, and vases. So you have a boy scrubbing his flower pot. And underneath here is a saucer, right? So that little plate that the pot rests on or that the water flows onto when you water your plant, right? And he is scrubbing it, he's cleaning it, he's eliminating any moss, any extra water from the saucer, anything like that, right? He's taking care of it. Third point, cutting and clearing overgrown lots, right? Here we have an illustration of a person cutting grass or something like that. Now, when they say overgrown lots, what do they mean? If there's an empty lot of land, an empty piece of land, you should keep the grass, or try to keep the grass low as possible, right? And don't have any garbage or any open containers and so on in that piece of land. Cut it, take care of it, right? Fourth point, keeping guttering clear of leaves and debris. So, for example, in a house here on your roof, you will have a guttering at the side of your house for the flow of water. Sometimes leaves may get into that guttering, right? And it may seize the flow of water, right? So water is not able to flow properly. What they're asking you to do is to clear that guttering, keep it clean and free of debris. Nothing should be in that guttering, right? No moss, no leaves, no probably cable wires or any of those things that we tend to have on our roofs, right? Last point, getting rid of discarded items like bottles, tins, and coconut shells, right? Here is an illustration of 2 garbage bags showing you that they are getting rid of it, they're discarding it, they are throwing it out, right? They don't want it, right? So all these pictures are helping us to understand the points that they are listed or they have listed for us. If we go to the bottom of the flyer now, take every precaution. No cure exists, right? So they have an exclamation mark at the end of both of those phrases, right? Why do we have that, right? So take every precaution. Why are they telling you to take every precaution? What is the reason? And why are they saying no cure exists, right? You should know what they mean by that. And to the very bottom, you'll see for further information, visit our website, and they have a website listed for you here, www.zikaadvisory.org. or call 800 Zika, right? So if you require additional information, you know, somebody who probably has some garbage that needs to be taken care of and they don't know how to do it, probably they didn't quite understand the poster, you can probably give them a call and find out any additional information that can help you to prevent the deadly Zika virus, right? So I hope you have understood this graphic. Now we're going to move on to our questions, right? And these questions, of course, are based on the flyer that we just read, Prevent the Deadly Zika Virus. So number 1, or question 39, as we know is the last part of your paper, right? What is the purpose of the poster? So the numbers are going to be up and you can call and give us your answers. What you would notice about graphics, guys, you would notice that the questions are quite similar, right? So they may not always be, but they are quite similar sometimes. So just like this, what is the purpose of the poster? In our last graphic, we came across a question just like this, right? And it's very common that they would ask you what is the purpose of it. That means they're trying to find out from you if you understand, you know, the reason behind the poster. I have a call. I'm going to take this call. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Good evening.
Hi, good evening. Welcome. What's your name?
Javier Singh.
Nice to have you with us. So for our first question here, and it actually says part A, what is the purpose of the poster? What do you think is the purpose of the poster here?
I think the purpose of the poster is to warn us about the deadly Zika virus.
Yes, that's correct, right? I will take that answer. Thanks for calling, right?
You're welcome.
So I'm going to take that answer. That's correct, right? And if we look at the response that we have here, the purpose of the poster is to raise awareness on ways in which we can prevent the deadly Zika virus. So we did see that they listed quite a number of ways for us or preventative measures to follow, right, in order to secure or to prevent the deadly Zika virus. So any of those answers along these lines, we will accept and you will be awarded your mark, your 1 mark for part A. Right? I have another caller to help me with part B. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hello, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Rebecca Ramnan Singh.
Hi, Rebecca. So part B of this question, suggest one place where this poster should be placed. Where do you think?
This poster should be placed on notice boards throughout the community or at schools so the children could advise their parents.
Excellent work. Right? So that is correct. Thanks for calling, Rebecca. So her answer is correct, right? And this poster can be placed, or one place that this poster can be placed, right, is on the walls of public buildings. So you can put it in health centers, you can put it on any buildings that, you know, we have across the country or in communities that people frequently visit, right? Probably on those light poles, some people tend to put posters as well. They do draw attention, right, and attract readers. Any of those places, if you have a shop, you have a glass in front of your shop, and you would like to stick it there, that's also fine, right? Once it is seen and easy to read and accessible, right? So any of those answers, like I said, is also correct, and that's a 2nd mark. So for your first question, you have a total of 2 marks. So far, so good. The lines are open once more. We're going to take another call to help us with number 2, part A. And I do have a call. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi, what's your name?
Emmanuel Melville.
Hi, Emmanuel. Welcome to See Results. So read
Thank
for
you.
us number 2A and give us your answer.
Okay. Can you read the question for me, please?
Sure. Why is the phrase deadly Zika virus written in bold capital letters on the poster? Again,
So,
you got that?
so the reader can understand. So the reader can understand what it means.
I'm going to read the question again. I'm going to give you an next chance to answer that. That's not quite correct. Listen to the question. Why is the phrase deadly Zika virus written in bold capital letters on the poster?
It is written in bold capital letters in the poster because the writer wants you to recognize that the virus is deadly and they have a cure for it.
Yes, I will take that answer. That one is correct, right? So thanks for calling. So you see, guys, it's important. And you right. So I know you were not able to see this question, but even if you answer it on your paper, be sure to read your question twice before you answer it. If you need to underline key words, that's fine as well, right? You don't want to lose that 1 mark there. I'm going to read the answer that we have here. The phrase is written in bold capital letters to draw attention to the important information on the poster, right? Now, this could work, but also, I like that answer that the caller just gave us, right? So, let you know that the Zika virus is deadly, right? You don't want to mess with this virus, and there are certain things that you must do in order to prevent it, right? And we should, in fact, abide by those measures. So, that's a great answer as well. Good evening, and welcome to See Results. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, what's your name?
Rebecca Ramdan Singh.
Hi, Rebecca, again. So number 2B, can you see the question, or would you like me to read it for you?
Can you please read it?
Sure. Suggest one reason why images are included on this poster.
Images are included to advise, to show people who can't read what they want you to do.
Excellent, right? So thanks for calling again, Rebecca. So the images act as an aid, right, to help or to understand what you should do, right, or the correct way you should do something, right? So if you're not able to read, you have difficulty reading, for example, and you are seeing pictures there, 1 or 2 words are going to stand out to you, and by looking at those pictures, you're going to understand or be able, or help you understand at least what the poster is all about, right? So one reason why images are included in the poster is to properly demonstrate how the preventative measure or measures should be done, right? So, for example, we saw 2 garbage bags tied properly that illustrated or explained the point where they're telling you to discard unwanted items or tins or bottles and so on, right? So that image there, that picture is helping us to understand how to do it. And similarly, with the image where we had somebody cleaning the guttering on the roof, right? If you're not sure what a guttering is, and you see that picture there, you're going to understand what they mean, right? So it's all about helping us to understand or to give a demonstration about the preventative measures, right? So good job so far, guys. And I'm going to take another call. The lines are open for number 3. According to the poster, what are 2 ways of getting rid of mosquitoes from around the house? Right, so they want this answer directly from the poster, right? If you have previous knowledge or additional knowledge about getting rid of mosquitoes, don't apply it here, right? Unless it's very similar to that of the poster. Good evening and welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening. What's your name?
Kaylee Spencer.
Hi, Kaylee. So number 3, would you like me to read that question for you?
No, thank you.
Okay, so go ahead.
2 ways to get rid of mosquitoes is by clearing the gutters around the house,
right,
and throwing away unnecessary junk.
That's correct, right? So thanks for calling, Kaylee. Now, I know they didn't use the word junk on the poster, but I know she said junk because she cannot see the poster here, right? So I'm still accepting that answer, and it is actually correct. They had about... We had 3, 4, 5 different points there, right? So we could have chosen any of 2 from those 5 and would have been correct. Right, so let's see the answer provided here. 2 ways of getting rid of mosquitoes from around the house are by cutting and clearing overgrown lots and covering all water tanks, barrels, drains, and storage containers, right? Straightforward, easy to marks. I have another question there, and I'm going to take this call to help me. Good evening, and welcome to See Results.
Hi, good evening.
Hi, welcome.
Hi. So number 4, right?
Yes.
According to the poster, why should persons get rid of discard items like tins and bottles? I think persons should get discard items because it can trap mosquitoes, and your place can
Would you like me to go back to the poster for this one?
Yeah, you can go back to the poster, please.
So let's just read the question before we go, right? According to the poster, why should persons get rid of discarded items like bottles and tins, right? So they want the answer from the poster, right? You have to get the answer here. Why should you get rid of discarded items? Let's just zoom to the top of this poster here, right?
Because it prevents the deadly Zika virus.
All right, that's correct, but it have something else a little more in depth I want you to get at. Let me see if you will get it.
Eliminate breeding places of mosquito around the house.
Yes, Nicholas. So that's what the answer I wanted there, right?
Yeah.
Thanks for calling.
Okay.
Right, so according to the poster, person should get rid of discarded items like bottles and tins to eliminate breeding places of mosquitoes around the house. Because as we know, all of these can be used, right, or act as places or breeding places for mosquitoes. So they're asking you to get rid of it. And number 5, based on the poster, explain the meaning of the following words. So here your vocabulary is coming into play, right? So like I said, they can test you in vocabulary in this task as well, right? So you have to be mindful of that. And like I said, I always say, if you don't know the direct meaning of the word, what you can do, I actually gave the answer here for some reason, right? What you can do, just go back and read in context of the question, and that will help you to understand. So since the answer is here, let's just read it. So they're asking you, based on the poster, explain the meaning of the following words. So we want the word eliminate. The meaning of the word eliminate. Eliminate means to get rid of or to remove, right? And precaution, to prevent something dangerous or probably unpleasant from happening, right? So once you have any definition close enough to any of, to what we have here, or to the meaning of eliminate or precaution, you will be awarded your full 2 marks. Right, guys? So that's the end of our second graphic. So next day when we have ELA, we'll be continuing with our graphic, right? And as you can see, it is not as tedious as the comprehension or the poetry, and it's easy for you to get through. You just have to take your time, read the questions properly, and you will be able to get out, right? As you know, we have creative writing coming up next, so I don't want you to go anywhere and join us for creative writing. As you know, for creative writing, we have Sajas joining us halfway in the program to give us exciting news and to share some information and pieces with us. We don't want to miss that as well. So we're just going to take a short break, and when we come back, you're going to be joining me back right here for creative writing. Stay tuned, guys.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
On all grocery items, trust Low Cost Supermarket for the widest variety of quality products at low prices. freshly picked fruits and vegetables, healthy products for your well-being, high-quality meat cuts, and a warm and friendly service. Low-cost supermarket, Sun and Main Road, Cunupia.
IBN can be viewed on the go now with the Airlink TV app for Google devices. Simply go to the Google Play Store, search for the Airlink TV app. Download the app, click on the link and fill out the form. The account activation will be emailed or texted to the user. It's safe as no credit card is needed. The first 30 days are free and you can subscribe and receive a box for your TV to stream the same content.
Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. Right, so just before the break, we completed ELA for today, and now we're on to creative writing. And if you're just joining me on our C Results page on Facebook or on our IBN TV 8 page on Facebook as well, and of course watching us from home on the television on channel 8, welcome one and all. And we are now moving on to the creative writing segment for, well, the first one for this week actually. Right, and in this segment, we know that Sejaz joins us along or almost halfway through the program to share some of the work from our Edmodo students, right? And we're going to share with you a little bit about Edmodo later on in the program as well, right? So stay tuned for that. What we have today, and actually is the last of the narrative style writing, because that is what we have been working on since the start of the program, narrative style writing, and we did cover everything necessary, and that will help you, be prepared for the essay exam if you should happen to get a narrative style piece for SCE, right? Remember, like I always say, it's not certain if you're going to get narrative or report. Last year, students got a report style piece to write, and in the previous years, we got narrative style writing, right? So we don't know what we're going to get this year. Fingers crossed for those of you wishing for narrative and those of you wishing for report style writing. Regardless, you should be able to master both of them, right? We don't want to come up short in narrative or similarly with report style writing because we have a preference, right? We should know all the rules rules and content associated with each style of writing. And if you don't know, for creative writing, for SEA, there's only 2 styles of writing that you can not choose from, but you will be given, right? So it's either narrative or rubric, right? So you should be proficient in both of them. So lastly, in creative writing, what we did, we looked at a sample piece of writing, and we used the rubric, narrative rubric, to assess that piece, right? And that was one of the lower performing pieces where we saw that that child needed to do some improvement in his or her writing. And though he was progressing, right, they had some work that needed to be done there. So today we are going to look at one of the higher performing pieces and how that piece is also marked, right? So we clearly understand the difference between the pieces that need the extra work and what they probably lack, and the pieces that are done quite well, right, and 1 or 2 mistakes or errors that they would have made probably to lose a mark or 2 or anything like that, right? That is important that we understand this information, because this is the rubric that your teachers are using in the classroom to mark your pieces presently, and for SEA, this is the rubric that we were given to use, right, to mark pieces. So we are just going with this. And if you're seeing this for the first time, this is actually what the narrative style rubric looks like. To the very top here, we can see the 6 achievement levels. Each one of these you can earn a maximum of 5 marks, right, which is what we are aiming for. Here we get 5 for exemplary, 4 for proficient, 3 for progressing, 2 for emerging, 1 for makes an attempt, or 0 for unsatisfactory, right? We are aiming at exemplary in each and every one of these criteria here. And to the left here, my left, I have the 4 criteria that we are looking at that you will be assessed on: content, language use, organization, grammar, mechanics, right? And we are going to understand a little better what each of these mean. Of course, we are just recapping them because we have already gone through the content and language use and what each of those entails and what we are looking for when we are reading your essay. You should be very mindful of it, especially now, because now you have that extra time, you know, to edit your work or to revise your work when you have written an essay at home over the weekend, in the classroom or what have you. Take an extra minute and, you know, think about what we said here, right? What are we looking for in content? What am I looking for in grammar mechanics? What should you focus on more importantly, right? So you may have a strong point. So for example, organization of a story might be your strong point, but you may lack in language use, right? So if you think that you are getting 3 marks or 2 marks in language use, try to bring it up to a 4 and eventually a 5. Time is limited, yes, but you can do it, right? It requires hard work. And what is important, you see that feedback that Mrs. Sir gives to the end of your narrative writing, and they tell you, well, you need to work on grammar mechanics, probably in commas, or you're not putting your full stops or quotation marks when necessary, right? Focus on that feedback that they are giving you and try to work on it, right? You don't want to keep giving up the same essay with the same errors, right? It's going to show that you are not working, and we don't want to see that, right? We want you to work very hard because essay is just around the corner. So let's just recap what I'm looking for content. Remember, content, we can earn a maximum of 5 marks. To get that 5 marks, this is everything that you must have, right? We are paying attention, close attention to the elements of a story. Elements of a story include the setting, right? Which also in setting, you have your time and your place, your characters, physical description, action, dialogue, and so on. And then you have your plot of your story. Plot of your story here requires that you have an exposition, a rise in action, a climax, a fall in action, and a resolution, right? So you must have all of these things, right, in order to get that 5 marks. Now, you can't get it because you do know the elements of a story, right? What is a little more tricky is perfecting it or getting it to the right point, right? So, for example, you may not, if you are having difficulty with character description, what I can tell you, go back to a couple episodes back where we did character description, and that's going to help you as well, right? We did everything in character description. Physical, emotions, action, and we also did dialogue, right? So I just want to remind you all that you can go back and rewatch the videos once the live has ended on Facebook, but also on YouTube, our YouTube channel. Please like and subscribe as well. What you should do, go back because they are so well labeled for you and easy for you to find. Search whatever topic you are looking for, and you will get that video, right? So for example, if you're looking for character description, we have multiple videos on character description because we did it in depth, right? So you'll be able to get those videos and rewatch them very easily, right? So like I said, each and every point listed right here is what we need in order to get that 5 marks. In your language use, we are looking for descriptive language, figurative language, sensory details, right? So your descriptive language, there we can use, you know, all those adjectives that we have learned, right? Those colorful words, interesting words, words that bring a story to life. Those are the words that we are looking for. Your figurative language, right? We're looking at your metaphors, your similes, personification, onomatopoeia, all of those things. Try to bring them out in your writing. Your sensory details, right? This here applies or is referring to your 5 senses. So when you're writing a sentence, try to include or try to appeal to the sense of sight or sound or taste, any of those things, right? 1 or 2 if you can't touch on them, but please try to touch on them, right? That brings life to your story. Next, for language use, this is also a maximum of 5 marks. So far we have 10 marks that we can potentially earn. Next, we have organization. The organization of your story, what we are looking for here, you must be able to sequence your plot, right? So your ideas must be clear and coherent. It must be easy for us to understand what you are talking about, right? Also, you should have clearly defined paragraphs. So we're looking at indenting of paragraphs, your paragraph style, and transitions, right? So like I said before, transitions for narrative and transitions for report style writing. A bit different. We're going to get into that as soon as we start report style writing. But for now, you are safe with transitions for narrative style writing because we also did a lot of different type of transitions, right? So you have transition words and you have transitional phrases. Either of those are fine and you can use it in your writing. Please use it in your writing for a smooth flow of ideas. And that is also a total of 5 marks. So there we have 15 marks. Now to the last criterion here, we have grammar and mechanics, right? So you must use all of these correctly, right? Parts of speech, your punctuation marks, capitalization, and spelling. This is a section in which we are scrutinizing your work. We are looking for those errors, right? Now, of course, we don't want you to have errors, but we don't want you, to lack in this area of parts of speech or of punctuation, right? Or failing to spell a word correctly. Revise your work, check it over, save a minute or two at the end of your writing to do so especially, right? So let's move on to the topic for today's narrative piece, sample piece, right? Write a story in which one of your toys came alive. Include exciting details about what happened, how you felt during the experience, and how the experience ended. What I always encourage you to do, highlight the key points or key words in your topic. So let's do this one, right? Let's highlight the important parts of this, right? A story in which one of your toys came alive. So we're only writing about one toy, right? If you have probably about 10 tracks, choose one, your favorite one, write about that one, right? Came alive. Include exciting details about what happened, how you felt, so emotion is important here. What happened, so they want the plot, how it unfolds, how you felt during the experience, and how the experience ended, right? So you must be able to give us all of this information in your writing, right? They are looking for that. You must also include exciting details, right? So they don't want a boring story, in other words. They're telling you, please make this exciting for me to read, right? And please heed that warning and do follow that instruction. So let's try to read this piece before we have to go to a break, right? The black sky was mysterious that night. The stars were hidden as the darkness crept over the earth. The wind whistled its cold song. It was the only sound heard. I lay miserably in bed. I tossed and turned in the blanket as I could not sleep. I looked over my side table and there sat my rag doll. She was old, dusty, and useless. Her head fell forward and then she fell off the table and hit the ground with a loud thud. I didn't care at all. This is just the introductory paragraph, but I just want to stop to say, pay attention to the story right now as it unfolds and the details of the story, rather than any errors that you may come across, right? We'll fix our full attention on that shortly when we start assessing the piece. Soon I felt sleepy and my eyes closed. I then woke up in a forest. It was pitch black and I could hardly see my feet. Then I heard footsteps behind me, big ones. I ran to the nearest tree, hid and peered from behind. It was my rag doll, except she looked like a giant. She was wearing her little Bo Peep's flower dress and her blonde hair in 2 plaits. One eye was closed and the other one was open. Her bright blue eyes shone like the moon. She looked straight at the tree and grinned. It was like she could see right through it. Her teeth were a butter yellow. She walked towards me. I ran deeper into the strange forest. She picked up the tree and threw it in my direction. When she realized that she had failed, she began to chase me, saying, "Come, let me destroy you." She kept cackling every time she said that. I was running as fast as I could. My heart was pounding, and I could hardly breathe. Even the wind seemed to be laughing at me. Then I realized that the wind was taking the form of people, laughing and pushing me. Stupid girl, they kept taunting, their voices echoing. Her grin was like the Joker's. Then I fell on a tree root. Face first, I was bruised, and a stream of tears ran down my cheeks. My rag doll had overpowered me. She was about to throw a boulder on me when suddenly she rippled and vanished into thin air. My rescuer was hard to see in the dark, but his or her eyes shone like the stars. Then I saw her hair blow in the wind, which was now silent. She held out a hand. I took it. Follow me, she commanded. She led me through the forest, and we both jumped through what looked like a black hole. I woke up and saw my mother with her hand in mine. It felt reassuring and comforting. You were having a nightmare, she said. Then I realized I was sweating profusely. Right? I do have one more paragraph to read. However, I do have to take a break. As you know, it's Maghrib time, and we have the Maghrib Adhan coming up. So please join me in a couple minutes to complete this narrative assessment. Assalamu alaikum, good evening guys, and welcome back to C Results. If you're just joining me, welcome. I'm Ms. Nyla, and we are looking at a narrative sample piece, and we are going to assess this piece using the rubric, right? But first we must read out or complete reading this story. So we're on to the last paragraph, right? I saw my rag doll back on my table, touched it, and it felt ice cold. I could still hear her cold, harsh voice as I held her. Then I angrily threw the doll in the bin, where I hoped she would never haunt my dreams again. From that day on, I learned that my mother will always be there for me and that I should treat others like I'd like to be treated, right? So it's a nice story, right? More or less well written. So let's now look at the rubric here. Right, remember first thing we are looking at content, and remember all or everything that we are looking for with regards to earning that 5 marks for content. So we are looking for in setting, time and place. In your character, we must have physical description, action, and dialogue. Right, now this is another way that we can use the rubric as well. Last day when we assess the other piece, we looked at the rubric and we just gave that child a mark using the rubric. Here, the descriptors are placed next to a box, and if once each descriptor was achieved in the writing, the examiner can tick the score box, right, and they can give you a mark, right? So let's move over to the comment section. Remember, we're on setting and character, but this is for content. So content is about setting, character, and your plot. This first part here deals with setting and your character, and this is everything that we are looking for, right? And knowing to yourself from what we just read, did you observe a setting, a proper setting, right? Did they give you a time, and did you give you a place, right? For characters, what about physical description of the character? Was that character described, right? What actions did that character reveal about the character itself? And dialogue. Was there any dialogue used in this piece, right? So both time and place are vividly described in lines 1 to 3. Now, if you just remember, I'm not going to go back because it's going to be a little too much going back and forth, right? But in 1 to 3, that's the beginning of your story. They did give us a time and a place, right? It's very clear for us. So therefore, that child is going to be awarded, or the score box is going to be ticked for time and place. The rag doll is vividly described, right? And they're telling you which lines here to look for to reveal her menacing nature. So did that person describe the character? Yes, they did. A physical description was given, right? With blonde hair and plaits and the Bo Peep's dress and so on, right? So all of those are description given for that character. The doll's actions reveal its evil intentions, right? Lines 14 to 26. So this as well here, both of these are description for your character as well as action here. So this box, we're looking at action, right? And we're looking at some of the actions that the doll displayed, right? That told us or shared a little about the character's personality. And the last thing that we're looking for, a descriptor here, dialogue. Dialogue was used in lines 16 and 19 to reveal both the doll's and the forest creature's malicious intent, right? So if you recall, the doll was saying to come here and she's going to destroy you and so on, right? So that was the dialogue achieved. So we had 2 sets on line 16 and lines 19. Remember, dialogue is important in your essay. Just as this character used dialogue, we don't want to overuse dialogues also, right? That's important, an important point to note. So use it, but use it wisely and appropriately, right? Still on content. So far, this person achieved all of these boxes, right? So time, place, physical description, action, and dialogue. Do you agree with that? Did you see all of these descriptors being achieved? And for plot, we have 5 things to look for. Exposition being first. Exposition, all right, that's the introduction of your setting and your character, right? Here in your comment section, there's a clear exposition in paragraph 1, establishment of setting and introduction of the rag doll. So yes, in paragraph 1, we had the setting and we had the introduction of our main character, right? Rise in action, right? So here things are going or starting to take off. The rise in action begins when the main character suddenly wakes up in a forest and is being chased by the doll, right? So things are starting to get interesting. What's going to happen to the girl there who's being chased by the rag doll, right? So we have the rise in action, we have exposition. Tension builds to the climax where the rag doll overpowers the main character and is about to throw a boulder at her, right? So if you remember that, now she's about to destroy the girl. The main character, being the doll, is about to destroy the girl, and that is the climax there. Now we want to know what is going to happen, and that's the most interesting part. She caught up to her, right? And she's about to demolish her. What about your fall in action? Was it easily identified, right? Or were you able to tell what was the falling action there, right? So we had our climax already, the peak of our story. Now moving on, before we reach the resolution, what took place, right? What steps fell in after that? The falling action occurs when the doll suddenly disappears and the main character is rescued by a mysterious stranger, right? So that's the falling action. And then to the resolution, the story ends with the main character wakes up to discover that she was dreaming. There is a slight plot twist when the doll feels cold to her touch and she decides to discard the doll so that she would not haunt her dreams, right? So imagine you wake up after you had such a terrifying dream. You touch the doll, to see if it's real, and if what happened was in fact, real, and you notice that the doll is cold. Now that's going to get you a little more scared, right? Things start to stir in your mind. So just to prevent any further scares, right, you just discard that doll there, right? So think about that. Now back to the descriptors here. Will you say that the exposition was achieved? In fact, it was, right? Rise in action, as we saw, just this point right here, the rise in action was also achieved. The climax of the story is when the rag doll caught up to the girl, so we got that. The fall in action, when the main character is rescued by a mysterious stranger, right? So things are simmering down now. And the resolution, we can see what happened in the end there to tie our story. So overall in content, we can see that all the descriptors were achieved. And once all the descriptors are achieved, guys, you are going to earn 5 marks for content. So this person earned that total 5 marks for content. So that's excellent work. And now, next descriptor here, all right, or criterion, we are looking at language use, right? And in language use, there are certain things we are looking for. Descriptive language that can tie in with sensory details, and figurative language. So let's see if this child was able to achieve descriptive language and figurative language, right? So vivid, descriptive, and figurative language is woven through the story, right? And they gave you some examples of where you can see it. The wind whistled its cold song, line 2, right? So that's an example of personification there, right? So we have figurative language. Third, also figurative language, that's onomatopoeia, it's sound. So again, figurative language. Her teeth were butter yellow. Line 14, that's descriptive language, right? Her grin was like the Joker's. That's also figurative language. You have simile. So throughout, we are seeing that this child used the different devices, right, to help achieve interest, right, or to build interest in that story. And descriptive language, yes, they mentioned this here, but throughout the story as well, they also gave a few descriptive pieces of language, right, to tell us about how the doll looked and so on, which is also tied with your character description. So will you say that the descriptive language and the figurative language was achieved? Think about that. And now to the sensory details, right? So here we are looking for the appealing to the 5 senses. There were several instances where the reader could clearly visualize what was happening in the story, right? So as you were reading the story, you were able to see what was going on. She was wearing her little Bo-Peep flower dress and her blonde hair in 2 plaits, right? So that's one piece of sensory detail. This appeals to sense of sight. One eye was closed and the other was open. The writer also appeals to the sense of hearing, where she said she fell off the table with a loud thud, right? She kept cackling, this word here, cackling, onomatopoeia, every time she said that. I saw my rag doll back on my table, touched it and felt it ice cold. Appeals to the sense of touch, sense of sight, sense of hearing, right? So all of those appeal to or gives us sensory details. So overall, I would say descriptive language achieved, figurative language achieved, and sensory details achieved. So this child will be awarded a full 5 marks for language use. So great job so far. So 5 for content, 5 for language use, right? So far, so good. Now we are on to organization. So organization, descriptors to remind us what we are looking for, sequencing of plot, use of transitions, and paragraphing, right? There's a clear sense of beginning, middle, and end. However, some sentences are misplaced in paragraphs. Before we do that, where they said clear sense of beginning, middle, and end, right? We were able to follow the story through, right? All ideas were completed. It was clear, it was coherent, flowing smoothly. However, some sentences are misplaced in paragraphs. For example, this paragraph that began with, her teeth were butter yellow. And I do need to go back for this, right? Her teeth were butter yellow. They're saying that this line was misplaced because what follows it, she walked towards me. I ran deeper into the strange forest. Here's a description, right? Part of a physical description. But the writer or the child did not go on to do any further description, physical description, right? She started to talk or give us an idea of what something else that was happening. So the ideas are not linked, right? Hence the reason they're saying that it is misplaced. Similarly, here, while it's a good comparison and so on, this sentence, her grin was like the Joker's, also misplaced, because if you read the next sentence or following sentences, then I fell on a tree root face first. I was bruised and so on, right? The ideas are not linked. So it's a random piece of description, right? So keep your descriptions together or your ideas together, more importantly, right? So that's what they mean by misplaced in paragraphs. Her grin was like the Joker's, right? So I also explained about that. And resolution could have placed in a separate paragraph, right? So I woke up and saw. So she added that to the same paragraph that she was telling about where she felt that touch was the mysterious rescuer and so on. She could have separated those two ideas, right? Transitions, we saw it throughout in her paragraphs where, you know, the writing was smooth. We had no problems with that. And paragraphing was also fine. Indenting was fine as well, right? No problems there. So we just had 1 or 2 faults in the organization. So she was awarded, she or he was awarded 4 marks for organization, right? So just that 1 mark was eliminated or taken out for that error. And lastly, we have grammar and mechanics, right? Again, descriptors refer to capitalization, use of parts of speech, punctuation, and spelling, right? Capitalization was fine, started sentences with capital letters, and that was good. Use of parts of speech, so we had verbs agreeing with your subjects, so nothing like that gave us problems. We understood that. Punctuation, we just had 1 unnecessary comma, and that was in this line. I then woke up, comma, in a forest, right? That could have just been 1 simple sentence. You don't need a comma there, right? This, however, does not detract from the fluency and clarity of the story. And spelling, did you notice any spelling errors? No, we did not, right? So overall, really good job with grammar mechanics. Not because you made that 1 error there in grammar mechanics that you're going to lose a mark, right? So the child was still awarded 5 marks for grammar and mechanics, right? So the 1 mark was lost in organization of the story. So overall, this child got a total of 19 out of 20 marks. Excellent job, right? So that's really good, and this is what we are aiming at. 20 would have been perfect, of course, but if you get 19, all is well and good, right? And if you get 19 in class and you get a feedback where your organization needs to probably, you know, just fix 1 or 2 areas, please take the feedback, heed that advice, and follow what your teacher says, right? They do know, after all, what is best for you and how to help you. So that brings us to the end of our assessment for narrative style. When you do see me on Thursday, we are going to get started with report style writing. But for now, we have Sir Ijaz. After the break, he's going to join us, and he's going to share some of your work. So look out for your names and your pieces. So we're just going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back after these messages.
Attention all bakers, doubles vendors and roti makers. Try our high quality unbleached bromate free all-purpose and baker's flour. Low price and conveniently packaged in 2 pounds, 2 kg, 10 kg and 25 kg bags. For wholesale and retail prices, contact Shiklisha Limited 665-3336 or visit us at Warrenville, Canupia. Shiklisha Limited, quality you can trust.
Good evening, assalamu alaikum, and welcome back to C Results on IBN TV, as well as on the IBN TV Facebook page and the C Results Facebook page. All right, so it's Tuesday and we are near the end of our creative writing segment, and this is the time that we like to highlight your submissions that you have done that were due last week, Friday, at 11:59 p.m. And of course, there is more to do every week. So there's yet another assignment that was posted on Saturday morning that you have to write on. So of course you can visit edmodo.com and do the assignment there. If you're not yet a member, you'd notice that we've been providing you with that access code, as you can see it there right now, 6KJQ3Y, and we provide you with quizzes and assignments in all the topics that are covered or that are expected or examined in the SEA. All right. So what was our assignment that was due last week? Ms. Nyla spent some time teaching you all about dialogue and how to use dialogue tags and so on. So, you know, we are doing basically a stepwise approach here where we teach a different element to improve your writing, and then we give you something specific to that, all right? We actually started now with our latest assignment to get you writing an entire essay, but not all at once, all right? We are asking for different sections of the essay that will be done over a number of weeks. So at the end, we'll have complete essays from all of you, all right? I know a lot of you probably were excited to write, you know, more than the limited paragraphs and so on that we asked for. Now, for this particular assignment, the scenario was that while walking home, you and your friend find a sum of money on the side of the street. You are determined to return it to its owner while your friend wishes to keep it, all right? Write a dialogue on the above scenario. Remember to use dialogue tags and apply the rules of punctuation, all right? So this is basically the last of our standalone, very specific assignments in creative writing that dealt with, you know, a particular element of narrative writing that Ms. Nyla had taught you. So what did you guys come up with? And of course, we tried to make some interesting scenarios and topics, and it tells us, you know, a little bit about our writers as well, the things that they come up with. All right, so for our first piece, all right, and by the way, this was done by Sebastian Eccles, so let's see what he wrote. It was a quiet and uneventful Friday afternoon. Billy and I were casually walking home from school when a blue object lying on the sidewalk caught our attention. As we got closer, we could not believe our eyes. There were 2 $100 bills rolled up together. We should keep this, Billy exclaimed with a naughty twinkle in his eye. This is too valuable to take. Besides, that would be stealing, I reasoned as my conscience took over. All right, so Ms. Nyla dealt with antonyms, synonyms, homonyms, homophones, homographs, and that kind of thing over the last couple of ELA sessions, all right? So this is not exactly a homophone, but it might be a frequently confused word here, all right? It sounds kind of similar though. One word is conscience, which is that little voice inside of your head, all right? And then there's conscious, which means to be, cognizant or aware of what is going on around you, all right? So just highlighting that because, of course, we want to improve your spelling and vocabulary, all right? But we are not being overly critical here. We are just trying to, show how our students are tackling our assignments, and so far, so good. So come on, we can split it between us, he said enticingly. No, we must return it to its rightful owner, I retorted angrily. A multitude of images flashed through my mind of all the wonderful things that the money would help me buy, but I shook them off forcefully. All right, so that's very, very nice, a nice piece of writing there. You are placed in a situation where you can benefit from doing the wrong thing. All right, so a lot of images filling your mind of the possibilities, but then your conscience, all right, and not conscious, took over, and it caused him to shake them off forcefully. All right, after much coaxing, Billy reluctantly agreed that we should ask the nearby passers-by if the money belonged to them. All right, after pursuing a few persons who were walking ahead of us, we were unsuccessful in locating the owner. So with much disappointment, I finally realized that it was futile to prolong the investigation any further. All right, so I want to highlight the uses of these words here. Words like futile, which basically mean pointless, all right, or not bearing fruit, all right, and finally as a futile, to prolong, right? To prolong meaning to continue the investigation further since it's not yielding anything, all right? So, fine, you win. I yielded with a heavy heart. We'll split it, but we should use it to buy something for someone in need, all right? I continued in my attempt to make the best of a difficult decision. And again, looking at the use of the dialogue tags here, I yielded with a heavy heart. Yielding here meaning to give in, all right? And of course, yield could also mean something else when it comes to like agriculture. Yield is the number of crops, or when you're baking, how many cakes or cookies you get when you use a certain amount of ingredients. So we are really marveling right now at the vocabulary of our very young students, all right? So well done to you, Sebastian. And of course, it's quite typical in this situation, and of course for good reason, that the student will say that they returned it to the owner to give us that happy ending, all right? But in this particular case, they were not able to find the owner, so they ended up splitting it, but with a heavy heart, all right? So that's pretty creative, all right? So Sebastian, well done to you. So that is submission number 1 for this week. All right, and then what do we have next? I believe this one is done by Ishan Gangaram. All right, so let's go. Puffy white clouds drifted slowly along the baby blue sky as my friend James and I were walking home from a long, tedious day at school. All right, so this person now using, although, we're emphasizing here the use of dialogue, all right, they have decided to, give us some setting, which is some stuff that we've covered in the past, all right, using all of this descriptive language and so on. Of course, when you're doing your actual piece for the SEA exam, should it be a narrative style piece that you're required to do, all of these different elements have to come together, all right? All of the different things that we've taught you, how to structure things, how to formulate your setting, your plot, how to use the figurative language, how to use the dialogue. We have to have a mixture of all of these things. And it's been, some weeks now that we've been doing the various elements. So it's good to see that the students are trying to incorporate all of it, all right? Even though we are asking really here for some very specific things, all right? They can't help but, use everything all together now, and that is making for some very interesting reading, all right? So let's continue. Freedom wandered through the air as we were heading to my abode to play a video game titled Fortnite. And I remember Miss Nyla reading one of those sample pieces that use the word abode as opposed to home or house, all right? So that's some good. So this particular writer was paying attention, all right? Of course, we want to vary the type of vocabulary that we use in our writing. All right, ready to lose, Ishan? Short, thin James boasted. All right, you wish, I retorted, staring into his brown, almond-shaped eyes while his unkempt black hair began to fly as the wind slapped it. Look, a $100 bill, James exclaimed, pointing to the ground. Wow, I gasped, picking up the crispy blue note. Let's find the owner of the money and return it, I stated. Determination filled my entire being. Are you crazy, James cried. Think of all the V-Bucks we could buy on Fortnite with that. Upon hearing this, my heart skipped a few beats. I turned as pale as a sheet. Never would I have thought that my best friend would be dishonest like that. This cannot be real, I wondered. I'm going to return this to the rightful owner, I remarked. I was a fighting warrior. I was not going to retreat from the challenge of giving the bill to the person who dropped it. All right, with that, I bolted away as fast as Usain Bolt, leaving James in the middle of the rough asphalt road, gaping as the sun had witnessed enough and started to set. All right, so Ishan did a lot of work here, all right, above and beyond. You know, this is basically a complete story almost, all right? But he did utilize the dialogue and the dialogue tags. Of course, you might notice that the spacing and so on is sometimes off with the commas and the punctuation marks, the full stops and so on, because they are using mobile devices that sometimes, you know, it's tricky to navigate with that auto-correct type situation, all right? So we are a bit understanding of that, all right? So, you know, of course, yeah, this is a complete conversation, basically both of them arguing about what to do, and again, that sense of temptation is there. But in this particular story, there was no resolve to keep the money, all right? Ishan bolted, leaving James in the middle of the rough asphalt road, all right? And I like here that they said that as the sun had witnessed enough and started to set, all right? So the sun is there up in the sky, all right? Perhaps there's no one else to see this exchange that is taking place between them, all right? Other than the sun there that's out. And basically that's some very, very creative, very clever way to put it, all right? Although, you know, our actions don't really have any bearing on the time of sunset. You know, it happened at near the time of sunset. So just as, you know, Ishan was fed up with this situation and bolted out like Usain Bolt, the sun too had seen enough and it set, and with that setting, our story also came to an end, all right? So that's a very nice way to wrap things up. So, you know, congratulations, kudos to you. All right, so we have here now another submission. All right, I'm trying to read as many as I can today, okay? So, I'm so jubilant that school's over, I said to my friend Tim. I know, right? So what's your plans for this evening? I asked Tim. I'm gonna do my homework and studies, so I have the whole night to myself. What about you? Well, he paused as a $100 bill fell out of a man's wallet. The man was ordering a snow cone from the snow cone guy. Dude, we have to... I was then interrupted by Tim. Shush. We could keep the money and buy us 2 mega cups of snow cones with extra money to spare, he said. All right. No, I boomed with rage. That will be stealing, and it is a sin. Plus, I don't want to get in trouble. The snow cone guy stared at us suspiciously. He then left the scene. But I want the money. I need it, Tim hollered. He bended down. Now, the past tense of bend here is bent, all right? So just be a little wary of that. Suppose there might be other viewers out there with that same misconception. So we are just teaching you as it comes along, all right? So he bent down to grab the money, but as quick as lightning, and again here now we have, again, as Ms. Nyla was teaching about the homophones, all right? So lightning and lightning, they sound basically exactly the same. They are spelled a little bit differently. The use here of this letter E between the T and the N, all right? So this lightening comes from the verb lighten, all right? Which could mean to lighten the color of something, all right? Or to lighten the load or the weight of something, all right? But the electrical, discharge from the clouds, it's lightning. That's L-I-G-H-T-N-I-N-G, all right? Without the use of that E, all right? So remember, you are awarded marks for all of these things, as Ms. Nyla has broken it down for you, in much detail, all right? So we want to basically try to maximize the amount of marks that we get. So we try to have as little of these errors as possible. And, this is in no way to disparage our writer for trying to use a very nice simile here, all right? But we have to be aware of these words and the differences, all right? So I snatched it away from him, all right? We have to return it, you miser, I yelled. He stood there as shocked as if he saw a ghost. I felt uncomfortable as people stared at us. His blue, beady eyes petrified me. I fled to catch with the man as Tim started to chase me. You have to understand, I said, it's the right thing to do. He halted, all right? So that actually looks like a dialogue tag there, but it's not. It's a separate sentence, all right? You're right. I'm sorry, dude. He apologized. I finally reached to the man and gave him it. All right, so that should really be give it to him. Oh my, thank you so much. As a reward for your honesty, you could keep the money. All right, the man said happily. Yes, Tim and I exclaimed, leaping around like frogs. The man then left with a smile on his face. All right, so we have three different conclusions here in the paragraphs we've read so far, the dialogues we've read. One where they couldn't find the owner and they kept it. One which was basically unresolved with our protagonist running away with the money in search of the owner. And in this particular case, they found the owner and the owner decides to reward them by letting them keep it, all right? So one thing you would have noticed here is that as opposed to the previous paragraphs, with each new speaker, our writer chose to go on to a different line. And Ms. Nyla highlighted that, it's really a matter of preference and that you should go with what your teacher has been suggesting to you, all right? And that if you don't use it on a separate line for each new speaker, once it's, all within the same idea, the same discussion that's taking place, and that you should not be penalized for that. But of course, it's nice here to see the variation, because we have students, of course, writing in from all over the country, from various schools, all right? So we have a number of dialogues to read again, all right? I'll try to read one more, and perhaps on Thursday, Ms. Nyla might read the remainder, all right? Because there were some other things that we wanted to highlight. So I think I'll read one that was a bit different, all right? So on a peaceful evening, Chad and I were just walking home from school when we stumbled across a pack of money near an old oil tank, all right? Chad, let's keep the money and spend it later. Me, no. Chad, what do you mean no? Me, I mean we need to find the owner, not spend it all. Chad, come on, it's ours. We can split it half for me and half for you. Me, still no. And then Chad says, please, we wanted to do separate things with the money, so I got an idea. Me, look, I will carry it to the police station, okay? Then Chad says, fine, but next time I find free money, I will keep it. Me, bye, Chad. Chad said, bye, Joshua. As we said our goodbyes, Chad went home in sadness, and I went to report the missing money. Me, hello, officer. I would like to make a report. Officer, what is it? I found money on the ground, and I was hoping that I can leave it here. All right, the officer asked, of course you can leave it here. Was there anyone else with you? Me, yes, my friend called Charles Will Kasky. all right? I handed the money and went on my way. I felt happy knowing that I did the right thing and Chad got none of the money, and this was submitted by Joshua Calder. All right, so now I have a criticism to make here, all right, that you all need to pay attention to, but the reason I'm leaving the author's name in is because overall it was a very, logical dialogue given the situation, all right? But remember here we are practicing writing for a narrative piece for the SEA, and this is type of writing that we are training you to write is called prose, all right? Now this here is basically written like a drama, all right? So when you graduate from primary school and you go up into secondary school, you start studying literature more, you would read some drama pieces, some dramatic works, and there are acts and scenes, and the setting is written, and then the dialogue, and you'll have the speakers named like this, and their lines, and various people might be assigned to read those lines in the drama and so on. All right. Now this is what you should not do actually for the SEA. All right, because this is narrative writing. We are writing prose here. All right. So the dialogue should be contained within paragraphs, and there should be the use of dialogue tags. All right. Now, of course, I don't want to make our author feel bad at all, because it's very interesting that they, thought about it at this level, to write in this manner where the setting is there and, the various things happening in between, and then we are seeing the dialogue, all right? But of course, if there was anyone out there who thinks that this is the way to go when you're doing a bit of dialogue within your narrative story or your narrative writing for SEA, all right, don't do that, all right, guys? But as I said, overall, the dialogue was very good, all right? And it is, an interesting conversation taking place here, and it's well written, it's well thought out. But of course, if he had formatted it in the manner that it ought to have been, all right, without those basically speakers with the colons and so on, all right, we don't want that for SEA, all right? But it was really well thought out, it was well done, and it was very unique. So that's why I decided also to include it. And because it wasn't bad writing at all, I have left in our author's name, all right? So we have a few more pieces that could have been read, and hopefully Thursday we'll have an opportunity to read some more. We are now out of time, all right? All of our information has been shared with you throughout the program, and those little bubbles at the bottom of the screen. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and also do register for our class on edmodo.com if you haven't already. All right, I have been Sir Ijaz, and please join us again on Thursday as we continue with mathematics and creative writing. Have a good evening. Assalamu alaikum.